Your thoughts feel scattered. Your focus slips the moment pressure shows up. You sit down to work, but 20 minutes in, you're already on your phone. One message ruins your mood. One craving hijacks your decision, and the cycle repeats again and again and again. You're not broken. You're just untrained, because no one taught you how to rule your mind. No one taught you how to lead your body. No one showed you that discipline isn't a punishment. It's a weapon, the kind that builds mental clarity like a fortress, the kind that turns emotional chaos into controlled fire. You keep asking, why can't I stay focused? Why do I keep messing up my progress? Why can't I stop doing the things I swore I'd quit? And the answer isn't complicated. It's this. You don't lack willpower, you lack discipline, but not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the stoic kind, the kind you can't fake, the kind built in the mornings you don't feel like it, the kind built in the space between urge and action, the kind built in solitude, where no one claps for you, but you show up anyway. That's what this is about. Not motivation, not feeling good, but forging self-command so unshakable. You become untouchable. And it starts here with one discipline. One shift that rewires how you move through the world. The first of 10 Stoic disciplines that will train your mind, sharpen your focus, and build the kind of clarity most men never touch. Let's begin with the foundation, the one most people avoid, because it doesn't feel productive, but it's the source of all inner strength. Discipline 1. Build a morning ritual of stillness. You wake up, and the world starts screaming. Notifications, dopamine, pressure, expectation. Before your feet even hit the floor, you're already behind, already comparing, already reacting. And now your whole day is built on someone else's rhythm, not yours. Here's where the Stoic flips the script. Build a morning ritual of stillness, not for luxury, not for aesthetic, but for command. Marcus Aurelius didn't roll out of bed into chaos. He rolled into reflection. He opened his journal. He asked himself, what kind of man will I be today? Where am I vulnerable to weakness? What battles will I face? And how will I choose to meet them? That's not romantic. It's strategic, because your mind is soft when you wake. It's unguarded, and what you do in that first hour, it shapes your clarity, it sets the tone, it builds the edge. And if you don't fill that space with focus, it will be filled for you by noise, by speed, by everything except what matters. You don't need a 10-step routine. You need one moment of intentional stillness. Sit in silence. Journal with truth. Read a line from a philosopher who lived with more backbone than noise. Breathe without checking a screen. Walk without stimulation. Whatever it is, make it yours. Make it quiet. Make it deliberate, because stillness isn't emptiness. It's the sharpening of the sword. It's the moment before the war begins, where you choose who you're going to be before the world tries to choose for you. And this isn't about perfection. It's about ownership of your time, your thoughts, your attention. You want mental clarity? Then stop starting your day with digital chaos. Start it with self-direction. You want self-control? Then stop waiting for the world to calm down and start building your own calm, one morning at a time. Discipline 2. Embrace voluntary discomfort. You avoid pain. Of course you do. You've been taught that comfort means success, that if it feels hard, it must be wrong, that if your body resists, you should listen. And now, you're soft in the places that matter, not because you're lazy, but because you've never trained your mind to stay when things get sharp. Here's what the Stoics understood. Discomfort is not the enemy. It's the forge. Seneca didn't wait for hardship to find him. He chose it. He wore rough clothing, ate like the poor, lived days stripped of his titles and comforts, so that when real pain came, he didn't flinch. He called it rehearsing adversity. We call it voluntary hardship. And in a world chasing ease, that's rebellion. Because every time you choose discomfort, you train your nervous system to hold tension, hold boredom, hold the urge to escape. You don't scroll. You sit. You don't quit your workout when it burns. You breathe through it. You take cold showers not to suffer, but to teach your mind that discomfort isn't fatal. You build this discipline by taking the harder option, not recklessly, but deliberately. Choose the stairs. Say no to indulgence. Delay gratification. Why? Because every time you override comfort, you sharpen the blade of self-control. You stop being owned by impulse. You start becoming the kind of man who keeps his word, even when it hurts. Most people crack when discomfort shows up because they never practice staying, but you'll walk straight into it. Not because you like pain, but because you've trained to withstand it. You don't need to suffer. You need to stretch, mentally, physically, emotionally. So when pressure hits, you don't panic. You just move with calm, with clarity. This is what Stoic discipline is. Not masochism, but mastery of body, of mind, one uncomfortable rep at a time. Discipline 3. Do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. You know what you need to do. It's not unclear. It's not some mystery hiding behind another YouTube video or self-help book. You've already planned. You've already promised. You've already told yourself, this is it. This time I'll stay disciplined. This time I'll do the work. But the moment discomfort shows up, you flinch. The moment the emotion fades, so does your action. And here's where the Stoic separates from the crowd. He doesn't wait to feel like it. He moves anyway. Most men spend their lives waiting for alignment to strike like lightning, waiting to get in the zone, waiting for that burst of motivation to kick them into gear. But that's not discipline, that's dependence. And every time you obey that feeling, you reinforce weakness. You teach your nervous system, I only act when it feels easy. I only keep promises when they're comfortable. I only show up when it's sunny inside. But life doesn't respect that, and neither does your purpose. Marcus Aurelius said, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. He didn't say, when I feel ready. He said, because I was born for this. That's identity, not mood. You don't train self-control by talking about it. You train it by moving through resistance again and again until your body learns a new pattern. And here's the pattern. You act, even when the emotion is gone, even when your mind says, not today, even when your body says, we're tired, even when your environment hands you every excuse to delay, you act. Discipline isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's that quiet decision to open your laptop when your brain is fried, to sit in stillness when your phone is begging for you, to say no when indulgence whispers, just one more time. It's the morning you didn't skip, the reps you didn't negotiate, the truth you didn't abandon just because discomfort knocked. And this isn't about burning out. It's about building a rhythm you can trust, one that doesn't rise and fall with how you feel, but stays consistent. Because you've made the decision already. You want mental clarity? Then stop basing your action on emotion. Emotion is unreliable. Action is unshakable. Discipline is the bridge between knowing what's right and actually living it. So here's the vow. When it's hard, I move. When it's boring, I move. When it's uncomfortable, I move. Not because I feel like it, but because that's who I am now. Discipline 4. Control your inputs. Control your mind. Your mind isn't broken. It's overloaded. It's trying to focus while being force-fed distraction. It's trying to stay clear while scrolling through chaos. It's trying to think deeply while being programmed to skim, swipe, and scroll. And you wonder why you can't sit still, why you can't finish the task, why your thoughts feel fragmented, like 1,000 open tabs, all buzzing, none completed. The problem isn't just inside you, it's around you. And here's the discipline the Stoics lived by. Guard your mind by guarding your inputs. You can't consume noise and expect inner peace. You can't watch nonsense and expect clarity. You can't surround yourself with weak thinking and expect to act with strength. Epictetus said, the key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. But what if those people live on your screen? What if your daily company is outrage, gossip? What if every time you open your phone, you invite confusion into your mind, then call it entertainment? It's not harmless, it's programming. Your attention is your life, and if you don't direct it, it will be hijacked. This is where the Stoic draws the line, not just with actions, but with inputs, because what you consume becomes how you think, and how you think becomes how you move. You want mental clarity. Then audit your inputs like your peace depends on it, because it does. Start small, mute the noise, unfollow what weakens your discipline, say no to what drains you. Stop keeping up with people whose values don't match yours. Cut the passive consumption and start choosing what enters your mind. You don't need 1,000 voices in your head. You need 3 that sharpen you. You don't need 24-hour access to everyone's opinions. You need uninterrupted space to think. Read something real, listen to wisdom, watch how your mind responds when it's no longer overstimulated. You'll feel calmer, not because life got easier, but because you stopped feeding your mind junk. And over time, you'll notice something powerful. The same content that once pulled you in now repels you. The same noise that once felt normal now feels toxic. The same distractions that once owned you now feel small. That's growth. That's training. That's what happens when you stop consuming like a follower and start curating like a leader. This isn't about perfection. It's about intention. Because the mind you wake up with tomorrow will be shaped by what you consume today. So guard your inputs like a warrior, and you'll begin to reclaim your mind, one choice at a time. Discipline 5. Choose structure over mood. You've said it before, I just need to get back on track. I need to find my rhythm again. But what you're really saying is this: you've been living by mood, not by structure, and that's why nothing sticks. Not your habits, not your goals, not your focus. Because you keep building your life on how you feel, and feelings are sand. They shift too easily. One rough morning and the whole day's gone. One mood swing and the schedule collapses. One unexpected message, and you derail everything you promised yourself yesterday. Here's where the Stoic flips the approach. Don't rely on how you feel. Rely on what you've built. Marcus Aurelius had structure, a rhythm to his life, not because he loved rules, but because he knew that structure creates freedom. A set wake time, a focused work block, a limit to inputs, a protected evening. He didn't hope to be his best. He engineered it, and that's what you need now. Not more inspiration, not another pep talk, but a container strong enough to hold you when your mind tries to drift. Structure is not about control. It's about clarity. It's saying, this is when I write. This is when I move. This is when I disconnect. And you follow that structure whether you feel like it or not, because the discipline is in the doing, not the desire. You don't wake up to figure it out. You wake up and execute, not rigidly, but reliably. You remove decision fatigue by deciding in advance. You save energy by not negotiating with your mood every hour. You eliminate chaos by knowing what comes next. This is how you train self-control, not by fighting yourself all day, but by walking into a rhythm that already leads you, one you designed for you. Not a copy of someone else's morning routine, not a list of hacks, but a repeatable, reliable system that fits your season, your values, your mission. Because when life gets loud, and it will, structure keeps you rooted. Mood will fail you, structure won't. And the more you show up for your structure, the more trust you build with yourself, the more momentum you create, the more peace you feel. You want mental clarity? Don't wait for the stars to align. Create order, follow it, refine it, repeat it, because clarity doesn't come from chaos. It comes from ritual, and the disciplined man is the one who shows up even when the fire inside him flickers, because his structure holds the line, even when he can't. Discipline 6. Speak less, mean more. You talk too much, not because you're arrogant, but because you're untrained. You explain yourself to people who already made up their minds. You defend your boundaries like they're negotiable. You fill silence just to avoid feeling unseen. And every time you speak from fear, from ego, from insecurity, you dilute your presence. But here's the Stoic discipline. Speak less, and when you speak, make it matter. Most men try to prove themselves with volume, with over-explaining, with defending every choice, correcting every misunderstanding, clarifying every piece of their identity. But the disciplined man knows you don't have to say everything you feel. You don't need to speak to be understood, and silence doesn't mean weakness. It means control. It means clarity. It means you're not performing. You're present. Epictetus said, "Let silence be your goal for the most part. Say only what is necessary and be brief about it, because unnecessary speech is a leak. It drains your energy, your mystery, your strength. You think you're leading by talking? Maybe. But more likely, you're reacting, filling gaps, hoping to be accepted, begging to be perceived the right way. But here's the truth. When you know who you are, you don't need to explain it. When your actions are aligned, you don't need to defend them. Start practicing it today. Before you speak, ask, does this need to be said? Is this coming from power or fear? Am I trying to connect or control perception? Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is not reply. Sometimes your silence says more than your defense ever could. Sometimes the most powerful sentence is the one you hold. Because when you speak less, you observe more, you listen more, you understand more, and that understanding sharpens your words like a blade. This doesn't mean muting your truth. It means refining it. So when you speak, it lands, it carries weight. It doesn't need follow-up. It doesn't need decoding. It cuts clean. The Stoic man knows this. When you conserve your words, you protect your clarity. And when you move in silence, you're not hiding. You're building. Let them talk. Let them guess. You don't need noise. You need alignment. And from that place, every word you choose hits different. Because it's not performative. It's precise. Speak less. Mean more. Move with depth. And let your discipline echo louder than your voice ever could. Discipline 7. Focus on the work, not the applause. You want to do great things, but you keep checking if the room is watching. You start with intention, but somewhere along the way, your energy shifts. You're no longer building from clarity, you're building for claps, and it's subtle. You tell yourself it's just feedback. You say you want to help people. You say you're sharing your journey. But if the applause stopped today, would you still be at your desk? Would you still press publish? Would you still hold the line? Here's where the Stoic draws the boundary. Do the work for the work, not for recognition. Marcus Aurelius ruled the world and still wrote his meditations in private, not to impress, but to stay sharp, to stay aligned, to remind himself that honor means nothing if it isn't earned in silence. The moment you let attention dictate your actions, you're no longer free, you're reacting again. This time to praise instead of criticism, but it's still reaction, still outside in. Still giving your power to a spotlight that moves with the wind. And the deeper danger? Applause can make you lazy, make you believe you've arrived, make you crave validation more than growth. And soon, you're no longer building what matters. You're building what sells, what performs, what pleases. That's not discipline. That's dependence. The Stoic man works in the shadows. He doesn't need the crowd to clap. He claps for himself. When he meets his standard, when he shows up in silence, when he gets the hard thing done, even when no one's watching. So here's the rule. Detach your effort from outcome. Detach your worth from engagement. Detach your craft from attention. Ask yourself, would I still do this if no one responded? Would I still train if no one noticed? Would I still write if no one read? If the answer is yes, you're walking the path. If the answer is no, you've got work to do. You want clarity? Then move without needing to be seen. You want self-control? Then stop letting metrics decide if the work was worth it. Because the real discipline is showing up when it's quiet, when there's no feedback, no applause, no recognition, just the man in the mirror and the vow he refuses to break. Discipline 8. Train your impulses, don't just resist them. You feel the urge rise to check your phone, to scroll, to interrupt, to indulge, to react, to escape. And your instinct? You tense up. You try to fight it. You tell yourself, don't. You resist. You white-knuckle through it like it's a test of willpower. And maybe you win for a moment, but eventually, you cave because you're not changing the impulse. You're just trying to outmuscle it. And here's the hard truth. If you only resist the impulse, it still owns you. You're just delaying it, not transforming it. The Stoic doesn't just hold the line. He retrains the mind. he rewires the urge. He takes what used to be automatic and makes it conscious. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom doesn't come from resisting temptation. It comes from not being tempted in the same way anymore. Not because you're stronger, but because you've trained something deeper. So how do you train the impulse? Start by sitting with it. Don't run. Don't react. Don't distract. Watch it rise. Feel the urge without judgment. Label it. Track the pattern. You're not suppressing it. You're studying it. Because every time you become aware of an impulse, you weaken its grip, you slow the reflex, you give yourself space to choose, then replace it, build a new pattern. Every time you reach for distraction, reach for something anchoring. Every time you feel reactive, take a breath. Every time you want to indulge, pause, ask, what is this impulse trying to avoid? What am I actually craving? Clarity, relief, attention. And the more you train this awareness, the more the old pathways dissolve, because impulses don't vanish through force, they vanish through repatterning. You don't need more strength. You need more strategy, more patience, more training, not in the heat of battle, but in the quiet moments you usually overlook. This is the difference between short-term control and long-term power. You're not here to fight your impulses forever. You're here to reprogram what your mind sees as reward. So next time it rises, don't flinch, don't fight, just train, because every impulse is an invitation to either react blindly or respond like someone who's rebuilding his wiring. And that's what you're doing now, not resisting like a slave trying to behave, but retraining like a master rewriting the code. Discipline 9. Delay your reactions until you've thought clearly. Something triggers you. A message, a tone, a decision that catches you off guard. Your pulse spikes. Your jaw tightens. Your thoughts scramble to build a response before your clarity catches up. And that's where most people fall. In that gap between impulse and understanding. Because we live in a world that worships fast replies, instant opinions, real-time outrage. Speak your mind before you even understand what your mind is doing. But here's what the Stoics knew. The moment something upsets you, you are not ready to respond. You are emotionally hijacked. You are reactive. You are fogged, and fogged minds fire off words that cost too much to take back. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. But revoking it requires space. Space to think, to breathe, to detach from the emotional noise, and ask, what's true here? What's useful? What would my higher self actually do?" That's the discipline. Wait to respond until your clarity is louder than your emotion. You don't need to clap back right now. You don't need to settle the score in the heat of the moment. You don't need to prove your point before you've even sat with it. Because the fast response is usually the shallow one, the emotional one, the one that satisfies the ego and starves the mission. Train yourself to wait, even 5 seconds, even one breath. Even a walk around the block before you reply, before you text, before you speak. That delay isn't weakness, it's calibration. It's proof that you're not just reacting, you're choosing, and the longer you train this pause, the more natural it becomes. You'll start to feel it. That moment between what triggered you and who you become next. That's where power lives, not in having the best comeback, but in making the best decision, one that doesn't cost your peace, one that doesn't need cleaning up tomorrow. The Stoic doesn't avoid conflict. He just refuses to be rushed into foolishness. He knows, if my emotion is high, my clarity is low, and I don't move from low clarity. Not anymore. You want mental control? Then earn it in that pause, not by avoiding what's hard, but by delaying until the mind is still enough to act from principle, not pressure. Discipline 10. Close the day with brutal self-honesty. The day ends. You're tired. You scroll a little, distract a little, tell yourself, I did okay. Even if you didn't, even if you slipped, even if you avoided the hard thing again. And that's the moment where most men lose themselves, not in chaos, but in comfort, in the quiet justifications that slowly erode self-trust, in the stories they tell themselves to avoid the truth. But the Stoic doesn't flinch here. He doesn't run. He doesn't hide. He ends the day with his eyes open, looking himself dead in the mirror and asking the hardest question of all: did I live with discipline today? Seneca taught this ritual. He called it a nightly self-examination. He wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said, why? Because a day without reflection is a day you can't learn from. A life without self-honesty is a slow drift into mediocrity. You become soft, not in body, but in mind, in integrity, in standards." So here's the ritual. Simple, but not easy. Before you sleep, ask, where did I act out of emotion instead of reason? What did I avoid today that I promised myself I'd do? Where did I show up strong? And where did I flinch? What patterns repeated? What can I do differently tomorrow? You don't judge, you don't shame, you just see clearly, without excuse. This is how you build alignment. This is how you course correct before the drift becomes damage. This is how you strengthen your discipline, by refusing to lie to yourself. You'll notice something over time. Your mind will start adjusting during the day, because it knows night is coming, and the mirror is waiting, and the man in the mirror is done letting things slide. That kind of self-honesty? It builds clarity, it builds peace, it builds power, because you can't lead others if you're still lying to yourself. You can't stay focused if your integrity is fractured. You can't live disciplined if you refuse to see where you're slipping. So close the day like a warrior, not with guilt, but with truth, not with shame, but with awareness. And from that place, set your intention for tomorrow. One correction, one decision, one promise you keep next time. Because that's the work, the quiet, nightly sharpening that makes you unbreakable in the light of day. You've walked through the fire, each step, each shift, each uncomfortable discipline, not to impress anyone, not to appear strong, but to become so deeply aligned, so brutally honest, that nothing outside you gets to own your mind again. That's the real reward. Not praise, not perfection, but freedom. Because when your impulses no longer lead you, you're free. When your clarity isn't hijacked by chaos, you're free. When you don't need validation to keep your pace, you're free. Most people live as prisoners, not of bars, but of habits, of feelings, of distraction dressed up as identity, of a mind they never trained, of comfort they mistake for peace. But the Stoic man knows, freedom isn't the absence of restriction, it's the presence of discipline. You've now seen that path, not in theory, but in practice. It's gritty, uncomfortable, slow, but transformative. Because each discipline you've built, each time you paused instead of reacting, each choice you made without applause, each moment you traded dopamine for clarity, you weren't just surviving, you were sculpting yourself. That's what this is. A sculpting, a sharpening, a stripping away of the noise, until all that's left is a man who leads himself, a man who no longer asks the world for direction, a man who no longer waits for motivation to move, a man who doesn't collapse at the first sign of discomfort. He moves differently. He speaks with less. He chooses with more. He responds with alignment. And he sleeps with a clear conscience. That man is you, not someday. Now, if you choose it, if you live it, if you keep showing up for the quiet, repetitive, uncomfortable work that no one claps for, but everyone notices. So here's your final reminder. The disciplined man isn't tight. He's free, because he's not ruled by mood, not ruled by noise, not ruled by weakness dressed as pleasure. He commands himself. He builds peace that doesn't break, and no matter what comes, he remains. Here is a recap of the 10 Stoic disciplines that forge self-control and mental clarity. 1. Build a morning ritual of stillness. 2. Embrace voluntary discomfort. 3. Do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. 4. Control your inputs, control your mind. 5. Choose structure over mood. 6. Speak less, mean more. 7. Focus on the work, not the applause. 8. Train your impulses, don't just resist them. 9. Delay your reactions until you've thought clearly. 10. Close the day with brutal self-honesty. If this lit something inside you, don't ignore it. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and keep walking the path with me. This is just the beginning. We've got more to sharpen and more fire to walk through together.